Today I'm going to show you how we use Google Sites and our teachers are creating Google Site templates to facilitate student projects and create a support structure for how our students engage in their own learning. You're going to want to start by going to Google Sites. If you have any type of Google account, whether it's a Google Apps for Education account or just a general Google Apps account, you can log into Sites. And when you are doing that, it'll pull up within your domain. I've already logged in, but as you can see over here, but if you haven't done that already, you could just hit Google Sites and then it'll prompt you to log in appropriately. And once you do, it'll bring you to all the sites that you have, such as I have right here. So a couple of interesting things that I'd like to start with are showing you how we go about making templates for projects. So I've been working with one of our physical welfare and health teachers recently, and he's done a project where the students really start to research and become quite knowledgeable about different diseases. He's done this project a lot throughout the past, but this year we are really going to take a different approach. In the past, this teacher would have the kids do their research in our Information Learning Center and then put together a PowerPoint keynote or Prezi presentation and then present to the class. After talking about the power of Google Sites and other online tools and applications, he decided to take a different approach, and we decided to collaborate in order to make that happen. So one of the first things that we did was to create our own site. I'm going to click on it right now, and I'll walk you through in a little bit, just really quickly, what it looks like to actually create a site for the first time. So it was called the Disease Social Media Advocacy Project. So what we did was we started working on this site together. The teacher chose the template as well as all the images and graphics. So the first thing you want to do on your home page is always include a list of the learning targets. I have another example of a project that I did with some teachers, and we always make sure the learning targets are at the forefront of the home page. We think that that's a nice place to introduce your project. So as you can see, some of the important pieces to this teacher's project are for kids to research a disease of their choice, and then give the history, the symptoms, diagnosis, treatment, prognosis, prevention, recovery, all the way to creating a culminating project, which I'll tell you about momentarily. So what would happen is we can edit our site and put in the directions and the images and all that. And when we decide we have what we like and what we think would be good to guide the students in their research is to turn it into a template, which we can do under More. So if you go to More and then you go to Manage this site, one of the very first things that you'll see here is that you can actually save it as a template. This one has already been saved as a template, so that's where it is. Otherwise, it would come up right here. Otherwise, you can also copy a site. So if, say, I'm a different teacher, but I want to do a similar project, but I want to maybe take out a certain part, I could ask the original teacher to share a copy of the site with me, and then I could edit that as I want. We can do more about that later. Right here, because we do have this site already created as a template, it'll say there's a whole section on template information. As you can see, you have the author. You can choose to put the name in which the students will search for it, and it's always good to include a description. I think whenever you publish anything, whether it's online in general or whether it's part of your school's domain, it's nice to have some description, whether it's for students or other faculty members. So what's kind of nice is once we've created this site, our students will actually be able to go and create their own site drawing from our template. I'll give you a real quick view of what that would look like. So if I were a teacher or student and I was assigned this project or wanted to look at it, I would go to Create, and it'll start you off with the option of looking at a blank template or going to the gallery. As the instructional technology coordinator, I've actually been able to work with a lot of different teachers from a wide variety of content backgrounds, and we've really started looking at how Google Sites provides us with the opportunity to create different projects. As you can see here, we're really starting to implement Google Sites for students in different ways using templates. So I'm going to look real quick. So if I were the student in this class and I was doing this disease project, I would click it. I could preview it if I wanted, the template, or I would hit select. And when I hit select, I always encourage teachers to have their kids give their sites very specific names so that they stay organized. So for example, if I did period 6 and then my last name, I think that would be a good one. Then you would hit create. So just to give you that brief overview of what that looks like. Now, once I create a site, it will show up here in My Sites. And right here, as you can tell, it says My Sites. If you want to browse other sites, you would browse sites here, or you would go up to the search bar. Something people don't necessarily realize all the time is that it always defaults to My Sites. So if you want to search the rest of your institution's sites, you would definitely have to change this to search all sites. That's just a little tidbit though. So when the student pulls up that template and now it's their site, they'll be able to hit the edit button and then go in and complete all the necessary pieces of information. So for example, in the blank template here, the student, will be told for this part they need to include the history of the disease, including the origin, geography, which population is affected, among many other things. We thought it was very important that students get used to thinking about the authority of the information that they're finding, as well as getting them in the habit of citing with proper citation. This teacher chose to go with MLA citation, and so once the student has found that resource or multiple resources, they're supposed to summarize from that source, not copy and paste. And we also stress to students that really there are a lot of tools out there. There's great apps for the iPad that help kids with note-taking on websites, PDFs, as well as to create their own works cited. And it's very important to continually remind students about the value of those resources and really how they can find their own voice in their research. So if I were the student, I would hit the edit button, and then you can just go in and you'd be able to type in the information that you would want, or if you wanted to insert an image, you would go to image. If you wanted to insert a video, you could find a YouTube video or make your own if you're doing some sort of reflection and embed it directly in your site. There's a lot of, as you could just see, there's a lot of really nice ways that Google Sites also integrates with other Google applications and gives a lot of variety for how you can incorporate many different types of digital media into your website. So that's that's the teacher end and really how you can start as a student. One thing that is really important when it comes, exciting, when it comes to students or any user creating their sites, there's a lot of options for sharing. So for example, if you're the creator of the site, you're the owner. The neat thing is if you're working with a partner, we always recommend that both partners be owners because then they have the most accessibility to the site. The other options could be just to edit or view. And another thing is, within our education domain, we always tell our students to make sure the first thing that they change is that, if you're going to make it anything other than private, make sure that the people within the organization can view. We always say we don't want someone, trying to do your homework for you or destroy your project by leaving it at edit. And also one thing we encourage students is when they submit and share, should I say, their sites with us as instructors, that they make us owners as well, because then we have all the access that we need to see the progress of the site and who has made which contributions. And of course, we always reassure them that we will not do their project for them, so they can rest assured. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like on the student end, specifically looking at a student's actual project. And what's really kind of neat here is you can see that this student has plugged in the information that was required, including their citation. The student did a nice job of summarizing, not just copying and pasting. They go through the different aspects that this teacher is required. One thing that we find to be extremely important in really changing the way how our students engage in their own learning process is to incorporate video reflections, as well as different ways that students can reflect and really help students to understand that their work is a process. And Google Sites, as I said before, is a way to create that type of support structure. So here you can see that on this page, we ask students to publish their reflections throughout the project. We explain to them why reflection is important, not only for them to show others what that they've learned, but also to document their accomplishments and to help share their thinking and make it more visible and audible to the rest of us. Something that we also find very important and that I always encourage teachers to do is when you're prescribing and asking students to do reflections, be very specific. Not everyone knows how to do a powerful reflection, and the more you can scaffold it, the better results you'll get, the more the kids will learn. And don't assume that they know what you want. I mean, and I know it sounds like common sense, but you really should be clear. So this is where this student has put her video reflections. And then for the culminating part of this project, the students were asked to synthesize their research, really take it in, and then they were to simulate an argument that they would make to Congress in terms of supporting research with the Center of Disease Control in a certain area, making a case for why this research and funding would matter. And what's really exciting about this is that the students, actually a lot of these students even ended up sending these videos to actual political representatives, and it does not get more authentic than that. And we really liked how the students were able to take that research that they did and create a message that they weren't just sharing within the walls of their classroom, but actually giving them a platform to take that further and showing them with the use of technology how to do that. So this is just a very brief overview on how we as educators are using Google Sites in order to organize student projects and how we're helping our students really find a support structure and engage in their learning as a process.